Ask any expert on success, regardless of their specialization, and they will tell you that mindset is what determines what an individual will be capable of achieving. Mindset. But how do you measure mindset? And once you've measured it, how do you build a stronger, more positive, more resilient mindset? This episode is a recording of a LinkedIn Live that I did with Stacy Hartmann, and her introduction is in the episode. But what I will tell you is that in this conversation, Stacy and I discussed what the Energy Leadership Index Assessment, or the ELI, is and what it measures, how it's different from other tools, and how a woman in leadership can use the information provided by the ELI to find her definition of success. If you are new to the Women Taking the Lead podcast, hello and welcome. I'm Jody Flynn, and I'm the CEO and founder of Women Taking the Lead, a leadership development company that works with organizations and boards to close the performance gap by attracting, developing, and successfully promoting more women into senior levels of leadership. I help organizations realize these benefits through coaching, consulting, leadership development programs, and keynotes. If we are not already connected on LinkedIn, please send me an invitation to connect. You can find me directly at linkedin.com/in/Jody Flynn, or you can search on the platform for Jody Flynn. I'm very active on LinkedIn, so I should be at or near the top of the search results. Be sure to add a note in the invitation letting me know you are a listener of the podcast. I would love to connect with you and get to know you better. And if we've been connected for some time, send me a note, say hello, and let me know how you're doing. Okay, without further ado, here's my conversation with Stacy Hartmann. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am here with Stacy Hartmann, and we are going to have a conversation about a tool that will help you unlock your mindset and reveal your genius. I'm Jody Flynn. I'm the CEO and founder of Women Taking the Lead. It's a leadership development, consulting, and coaching company, and I am on a mission to help the world by seeing more women rise into senior leadership positions. And as I said, I am blessed to be in companionship with Stacy Hartmann, who is a renowned success coach. She's also a sought-after international motivational speaker who has spent the past 10 years helping creatives, coaches, and expert entrepreneurs, I always stumble over that word, expert entrepreneurs transform their lives and make an impact by unleashing their creative and intuitive genius. While working with her, Stacy's global tribe of clients have started their own six-figure companies, become authors, innovated new methodologies, and shifted paradigms in old, stagnant industries. I love that, Stacy, bringing that creative juices to old, stagnant industries. So thank you so much for joining me here. Such a pleasure to just be with you and hanging out with you.
I totally agree, Jody. This is going to be such an eye-opening conversation, so I'm happy to be here.
Okay, so I'm going to dive right in. So let's talk about this tool that helps people unlock their mindset and reveal their genius, which is something you do on the regular. So here it is. What is the Energy Leadership Index Assessment, and what does it measure?
Awesome. Well, first and foremost, this assessment tool was created by Bruce D. Schneider of IPEC Coaching. And so we certify coaches like Jody and over 20,000 other coaches. And coaches are predominantly interested in working with IPEC or becoming certified through IPEC because of this tool, the Energy Leadership Index Assessment. And so this assessment actually measures your energy. And when we talk about mindset, I want to kind of challenge our thinking around it a little bit, because we know through cognitive behavioral therapy, we have our thoughts that lead to our emotions that lead to then what we do or don't do. And when we start bringing in energy, and what this assessment measures is it actually measures the worldview and the perspective and how you're seeing your world And that actually happens before the thoughts, emotions, and behaviors happen. So the Energy Leadership Index assessment gets to the consciousness and the energy underneath. And there's just a different lens or worldview that we're all walking through our life with. And my guess is that many of you have had an experience where it feels like you're going through your life and everything is going wrong. That's energy. And then something great happens and it feels like everything is going right. That's energy. And so we start to have these tendencies of how we're seeing things and how we're interpreting things. And then those interpretations are coming into our thoughts, then behaviors, and then actions. So the ELI goes all the way before the thoughts and measures, what is your worldview? What is your perspective? How are you creating your reality based on that worldview? And then the best part about it is that it is an attitudinal assessment. And what that means is you can change it. You are always at choice. And so that's in a nutshell what the Energy Leadership Index assessment is and what it measures, and then the impact that it can start to have on your life.
Yeah. And when you're talking about worldview and perspective, we're talking about mindset, which is the hot topic these days. Like some of the larger companies in the world are talking about how more than, training their employees on new technologies, which by the time they train them, there's another new technology that they need to be trained on. They're trying to train their leaders on those evergreen skills that will guide them through no matter what the changes, no matter what's going on in the markets and in the world. And mindset is one of those things. And I actually found an article from Harvard Business Review in which they were talking about mindset and putting definition to it. And you're going to love this, Stacy, because this is exactly what we learned when we're getting trained on the Energy Leadership Assessment through IPEC is mindset, the beliefs that orient the way we handle situations and sort out what is going on in order to assess what a leader can do and build additional capacity. The organization must create the space for the leader to gain clarity about conscious and unconscious beliefs they hold. An understanding of those beliefs and how they inform actions is critical to understanding different perspectives and thinking more broadly, right? This is in the Harvard Business Review, where they're talking about conscious and unconscious beliefs that guide someone's behavior. And that's exactly what the Energy Leadership Index assessment measures. And then those who are trained as master practitioners of this tool can then coach people around, is increasing that level, like taking the unconscious into the conscious so that you can do something with it. So you've talked a little bit about this, but how is this tool different from other tools?
I love what you just shared about from the Harvard Business Review, and especially as you bring up the unconscious versus the conscious, because that's really where basically, the same thinking that got us into the current situation, it's likely that will become self-perpetuating, because unless we go all the way to the unconscious perspectives and mindsets, we'll likely just keep recreating the same thing over and over again. And so I want to come back to your question, so hold that one. But when you brought up unconscious and conscious, I want to go a little bit deeper into what the Energy Leadership Index assessment measures. It actually measures our stress reaction, which is our unconscious tendencies as stressors come into our life. And these stressors can be extremely minor, like spilling coffee on your shirt, or very large, like significant loss or dealing with a challenging employee. And so that stressor, when it comes into our life, creates an unconscious response that we're usually not aware of. And that stress reaction can last for days, for weeks, for some people, months and years, depending on their average resonating level of energy. And so the awareness that we can build with this assessment around what those unconscious tendencies are, it brings them unconscious into the conscious. So now you get to choose, because we're really just not even aware of it. And then the other thing it measures is how our energy is when things are going normally in our life. So we've got our stress reaction, we've got our everyday way that we're viewing the world. And as we work, as you work with a core energy coach around this stuff, those two things come to light, and you now are at choice regardless of what stress might be showing up in your life and in your work.
Yes. And now I'm going to add to you. We knew this was going to happen. We were just going to build on each other because when you talked about like it identifies like the unconscious things that are causing our stress reactions, that's exactly how I explain this tool when somebody's thinking about working with me, because I start my clients with the Energy Leadership Index Assessment. And from here on out, we'll call it the ELI for ease. So we're not stumbling over our words. But I talk about the ELI as a way to uncover like our triggers and then our reactions to stress. And how I explain it is you and I can take out a piece of paper and write down everything that stresses you out, all your pet peeves, the things that drive you crazy or push your buttons. But what this tool helps you do is find out, why do those things stress you out? Because we've all been in situations where we're with other people experiencing the same thing. We're getting the same news at the same time. And some people are calm and thinking, we got this, no problem. And other people are freaking out. And depending on where you are, someone who's not responding the way you're responding, you have this thought of either, do you not realize how serious the situation is? Like, did you not hear what we just heard? Or you're thinking, why are you freaking out? What is going on? This is all going to be okay. And that's because we all have different beliefs at our core. And it's our beliefs that shape how, like you said, how we perceive things that are coming at us and then shape how we respond to them. So Stacy, thank you for bringing that up, because I was just like, this is why this tool is so genius.
Well, and you just now again sparked something else. Like, think about any and all communication challenges that you might be having in your life, whether it's with a significant other or in friendships or in your work life. I mean, communication, we all understand and know the importance of it. And the reality is, how many of those miscommunications are just that you're two different people seeing the world through two different lenses and can't quite understand each other's viewpoint? I would guess a lot of it, or the majority of it. And I think what else is so unique about this is once we understand the 7 levels of energy that are measured in the ELI, once we understand them, we're also able to approach conversation, communication, and relationships in a completely different way where there's less judgment. Oh, they're seeing this through a level 1 lens. I'm seeing this through a level 3 lens. It's like now it's just a matter of, oh, I understand their worldview, and it makes perfect sense that they're having this experience, given that that's the way that they're seeing things through that lens. It's no longer, I'm right, you're wrong. You know, we get to eliminate so much of that tension when we understand these 7 lenses that we view the world through and where one person is and where we are.
Absolutely. It allows for more compassion and empathy for where people are coming from, because you're like, oh, okay, I understand. And I've said that especially to my leaders who are looking for coaching. Once you understand these 7 levels of energy and where you are at any given time, you are better able to then identify where other people are at any given time. And then we can do coaching and learning and teaching and all of that stuff to help you help them where, you know, with wherever they're coming from. You can meet them where they are and help them. How is this tool different from other tools?
It's different in a couple different ways. And one I already mentioned, but it's worth mentioning again. You know, my guess is you're pretty familiar with things like the Myers-Briggs and Enneagram and other personality assessments like the DISC, and super impactful, powerful assessments, right? They give us some validation about our tendencies and who we are. We get to learn how to work with what we have, basically what those tendencies are. The ELI, on the other hand, is an attitudinal assessment. And what that means is that at any given moment, you can transform and shift and choose which perspective you want to try on for size, which perspective you want to approach certain situations from. So we're not just fitting into, or we're learning how to work with what we have. We're actually fully at choice for every single thing that we're doing. We can take a look at it and say, what would this be like, or this experience be like, if I were approaching this from the first level of energy or the sixth level of energy, right? And so it's just that really that power of choice in any given moment allows us to be really present with that choice. And that's where every time that you make a new choice to shift into a different level, you're unlocking more of your potential. You're unlocking more of your power, potentially more of your purpose, more of your passion. And so it provides a pathway of growth. It's literally a journey into more of your power and potential. And every time that we implement a shift or a change in our worldview, we're impacting our potential in that moment.
100%. And there's an example I can give. And if you have others, add to it, because I think it'll help to really put this in real life situations. So the example I will typically use is the difference between, say, the level 3 perspective and the level 5 perspective, which can be confused with each other sometimes if we're not really clear on what our reaction is and what our intention is in the moment. So for example, a level 3 is more of, I'm going to cope. I'm going to, I don't want to rock the boat. I want harmony. So I'm just kind of like going to make everything fine in this situation. And versus a level 5, where it's like collaborative, in partnership, let's work together. Let's figure this out. So what I say to people is like, if you're, on a flight, that's going to last about an hour and a half, and the person next to you is bumping your elbow, or something like that. And you're like, ugh, I don't appreciate this. You have a choice, right? You can just move your elbow and be okay with it, which is kind of a level 3 reaction. Or a level 5 might be, I'm going to have a conversation with this person about them bumping my elbow, which can also probably look like level 2, which is more of frustration and stuff, not to confuse people. But in any situation, you can choose. And, what I say to my clients is sometimes if it's short term and it isn't that big a deal, like, what's your goal here? Right? I want to have a pleasant flight. I just want it to be easy breezy. You might choose that level 3 reaction. However, if you had house guests, say somebody was building a home and they asked if they could, close friends or family members, and they asked if they could live with you for 6 months while that home is being built, and they have this habit of bumping your elbow, you might want to have a conversation with them about personal space and boundaries. Come in from a level 5 perspective is like, hey, we all want to get along. We all want to have a good time while you're here. Here are some things that are important to me. You tell me what things are important to you. Let's have this conversation so that we're all having a good time while you're here. So that's just real life examples of where some of these different perspectives can come in.
I love that. And it actually, another example that's coming up for me is even when we think about, let's talk about our leadership and in work and what we're experiencing kind of in our day-to-day of work. And so just to give you another little overview of these energy levels and the nuances between them. At a level 1 perspective, it would likely feel like you're putting out fires all day. You can't really see much further in front of you. You're just in kind of crisis reduction mode. In level 2, it's kind of looking outside of yourself and saying, these people don't have their stuff together, and feeling really frustrated and angry that things aren't, moving at the pace you want them to move, blaming others for some challenges, and feeling like other people are at fault for not getting the results that you're looking for. Level 3 is like all around productivity. Let's just get it done. Done's better than perfect. It's good enough. Just get things done. Level 4 is really that perspective of being helpful, cooperative, compassionate with your team members, and even sometimes like stepping in to really be helpful to keep things moving along. Level 5 is empowering. It's inspiring. You're feeling inspired. You've got a big vision. You feel excited about it. You're decisive. You make fast decisions. You're able to see a bird's eye view of what's happening holistically. We call it a meta view. Level 6 is very intuitive. It's very much what is the synchronicity? This is where level 6 and level 7 get really deep. They're energy levels that we predominantly tap into. Our mastery happens in levels 3, 4, and 5. Levels 1 and 2 is where we stop ourselves or block ourselves from really tapping into our full potential. And level 7 is a whole nother world. None of this stuff actually exists in level 7. It's oneness. It's like the color white. No other colors exist without the color white. So
Yes.
there's a really quick rundown of like how these energy levels might be showing up in our day to day. And we experience all of them all day long. But when we have awareness of it, we can use tapping into the higher levels of our potential at any time.
Yes. And what I will typically ask of my clients is, what is the goal? On the other side of this, what do you want to be experiencing? What do you want to be feeling? From there, you can decide which level I want to tap into, because there are some situations where, like, I'll typically say, emergency situations, you're jumping in. You're not asking for collaboration or partnership. You're not looking for buy-in. It's an emergency. It's a crisis situation. So I'm jumping in. I'm taking care of things, and then I'm making sure everybody's okay. Whereas if it's not a crisis, right, but it's an opportunity for the team to grow, then you might do more coaching and mentoring and guiding, collaborative types of interactions, partnerships to bring the best out of everyone. So there are situations where, like, I often say to my clients after they've taken the Energy Leadership Index assessment and we're going over their results, and I'll ask them, like, what level do you want to strive for overall? And they're typically like, level 5. I want to live at level 5 all the time, right? Which I'm like, we can definitely work towards that. And no, there are some situations where that might not be an option or might not be the best path forward. All of these levels have their pros and cons. And there are certain situations that even level 1 might be the way you want to go. I often say, like, if you are burnt out, dive into level 1 proactively, right? It's about unplugging and taking care of yourself, withdrawing from all the chaos and the madness, like re-energizing yourself so that you can come back as your best self, right? So all of these different situations, you may choose a different perspective or path forward that's representative of any of these levels. I don't know about you, but I have discovered amazing music, books, TV shows, movies, restaurants, and podcasts for sure because a friend or colleague told me about it. Our network, made up of friends, family, colleagues, and acquaintances, are a vital source of information and access to resources for us. If you find the content and suggestions from this podcast valuable, could you do me a huge favor? Could you share it with a friend or colleague? Typically, the best way to share a podcast is to share a specific episode that made you think of the other person. You can share an episode right from your podcast app, or you can send the link to the webpage found in the episode description. My goal is to help millions of women to grow and feel calm and confident in their leadership. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for helping me to do this. And I thank you for helping the woman in your life be the confident leader she is meant to be by introducing her to this podcast. So thank you. So, Stacy, let's specifically, because, my business is Women Taking the Lead, and I am striving to have more women in senior leadership. And I do work with organizations and organizational leaders, but I also work with individuals. So for them, how can a woman in leadership use this information?
The uses of understanding the 7 levels of energy and how you personally experience it in any given moment is infinite. I mean, it's applicable into anything and everything that we're doing. And I know that sounds kind of outrageous, right? But at the end of the day, everything is energy. Everything is moving energy. We're energetic beings, and we have limitless potential and power available to us. And the more that we have the awareness first, and then the choice second, we can apply these methodologies to any area of our life at any given time. However, what I want to share is that, while this kind of can sound pie in the sky or like, this is the answer to everything, we have some very tangible research around this as well, which I think is fascinating. And what our research shows, after having over 100,000 of these assessments done, 30,000 people in our research studies, is that the higher your level of energy, the more satisfied you are in 14 different areas of your life. From work-life balance to communication, to your leadership ability, to your relationships, to your work relationships, to spirituality, to financial success. It's like this hidden determinant of success and experiencing satisfaction and fulfillment in your work, in your leadership roles. And again, because everything has energy, it's like, yes, like Jody, you do this incredible work with individuals, but the organization also holds a full energetic frequency. And so the other really cool thing about the ELI is that you can actually assess the energy of an entire organization and shift energetics of entire systems. So again, in my bio, as Jody was saying, that's really cool about shifting paradigms. It's like when new energy comes into old paradigms, it shifts, it transforms. Just like when new energy comes into us, we shift and transform. So yeah, some of the key things when I think about the women that are listening to this is more confidence, a willingness to stand more in your voice, in your position, leading by example with purpose, passion, and power. That's the other really thing that really happens is energy. If we go all the way to Einstein, there's it's called entrainment. And so often we're focusing on the things that we want to see other people shift or change. Oh, they need this. They need to change this. But what happens with energy is that when you're holding a really powerful energy, people entrain to it. You're leading by energy. That's why it's called energy leadership. It's not even what you're saying or what you're doing or how you're doing it most of the time. It's who you're being while you're doing it that just kind of draws people's energy also into that same frequency, vibration, whatever you want to call it. And that's a scientific thing that happens. It's just we're learning how to manipulate, shift, transform energy to create what we already know is going to happen with energy in and of itself.
Yeah. And energy translates, like you said, to attitude, and people can pick up on attitude. Even if you're trying to pretend, right? If you're in a mood, but you're trying to pretend you're not, people will pick up on it. They may not be able to name it. They may not be able to say, oh, she's feeling this way and acting that way. But what they will be able to pick up on is like, something's weird, something's off. Like this doesn't make sense. And there's probably times where we've all been in a mood and trying to pretend like we're not, right? We're at some sort of an event. We're trying to pretend like everything's okay. And somebody's like, are you okay? And you're like, yeah, why? And they're like, I don't know. There's just something. Are you sure you're okay? And you're annoyed because they're asking because you're getting outed. You're not doing a good job of hiding it. So another advantage of using this tool and this information is you get mastery over where am I? What am I experiencing right now? What energy am I bringing forth? And knowing how to shift it, right? If you are in a mood, there are ways, there are practices and different mindsets and perspectives that you can take on that can help you shift your mood and see the situation differently so that you're coming with different energy. Because when you come with that positive vibrational energy, it's so attractive to other people, right? When we are, Stacy described earlier, those days where it's like, gosh, everything's going right and life's amazing and I'm so blessed. When we're going through our day with that energy, people respond to it. They're like, oh, wow, what's going on? Like they want to talk to you. They want to spend time with you. That makes a difference in our work. Right. And in our leadership and how our teams interact with us too. So that's very advantageous as well, is knowing how to shift that attitude so that you are bringing your best self forward and any given moment. Anything you want to add to that, Stacy?
It's what's interesting and what's standing out to me is I actually, the previous question you asked about what makes the ELI different. This might be a total pivot. I'm not sure, but it wants to come through. So, and because I'm thinking about you as you're explaining all that, I'm like, this is the power of core energy coaching. And so the other thing that makes the ELI different from other assessments is that because these are our unconscious tendencies, it means we can't see them. And so the power of the ELI is because you're building the awareness with a core energy coach. So unlike other assessments where you can take it, you can get a report, you can understand some things, getting the ELI report without doing a debrief with a core energy coach like Jody is like you're just looking at it through the same lens. So you can't actually interpret it outside of the lens that you currently have when you took the assessment, if that makes sense. And so that's where it's really different too, that this is a unique process that you can't just go take the ELI assessment. It has to be done with a core energy coach because the power comes from core energy coaching, which unlocks the awareness that's unconscious that also then validates what you're looking at in your report. And so that's just a really powerful differentiation as well. And how this tool does get to those unconscious tendencies because you have a partner who's certified and trained to uncover all of those subconscious blocks where you're holding back your potential that you might not even be aware of, and once you're aware of it, your whole world changes, just like the research says. Your satisfaction increases and goes through the roof.
Yes. And I love that. Of course, Stacy, we're building on it, right? So often what I say with my clients is we're going to use this tool to find those beliefs, right? And if we can uncover them and name them, we can examine it and shift it just a little bit, not the opposite, because your brain won't accept that, but just a little bit. And so, for example, I'm going to go back into relationship. I know we're talking about, work and leadership, but this example was so powerful and it can apply to any relationship in your life. I remember at one point, it was probably in my college years where I came home for the weekend and my mother was like, have you started your laundry? Have you started your laundry? And I was like, no, it was Friday. I wasn't leaving till Sunday. And she kept asking me and she kept saying, why don't you start it now? So then it's done and you don't have to worry about it all weekend. I was at the dinner table talking with like brothers and sisters and probably my dad, just having a good time. And I was like, just want to sit here and enjoy myself right now. I just got home and she wants me to like immediately do laundry. And at one point I snapped at her and I was like, it's the laundry. I'll get it done when I get it done. Leave me alone. But of course, after it was all said and done, I was like, oh, now I feel bad. Cause, she was just like, oh, disgruntled. And in retrospect, when I look at that moment, I was like, gosh, she loved me so much. She wanted me to have a great weekend. She in her head was like, oh, you'll dread having to wake up tomorrow knowing the laundry's not done. And then you'll dread waking up on Sunday thinking you got to get that laundry done before you leave. And when I, was able to then shift my perspective and look at my mother of like, okay, these things that she does that annoy me so much, she does it because she loves me so much. And when I looked at it through that perspective, it didn't annoy me anymore. It didn't mean I was going to do the laundry. I was still going to do it on my timeline, but I wasn't going to snap at her. I wasn't going to yell at her. I was going to say, thank you, Mom. I have a plan and I appreciate you looking out for me. And it just can change like on a dime how we interact and relate to other people. And even just telling the story, like I'm feeling more peaceful. Yeah. Just thinking about that, like when you think about where's the tension coming from in this relationship, and if I could change my perspective about this person or myself in this relationship just a little bit, what's possible then?
That's such a beautiful story. And again, when we talk about entrainment, I could feel I was entraining to your energy through that. And as you started tapping into that appreciation for your mom, I was like, I could feel my heart just kind of open up. And I mean, that's the power of energy. And just for those of you listening, curious, like what I heard, Jody, in that story was going from level 2 to level 1 to level 4. And so that's how much we move through these energy levels. But you found yourself in this highly anabolic energetic state that has lasted, certainly I'm sure there's other irritations that pop up, but it's like your view, it's like once the brain's been stretched a certain way, it can't ever go back to its original size. Like you can't undo the awareness that came to you and the gratitude and appreciation you felt for your mom.
You brought up a great point, Stacy, because this is the thing. We're still going to get stressed out, right? New things, different things, new situations are going to push our buttons and we're going to find ourselves reacting. But when you have this in your toolbox, that recovery time is that much quicker. And I even had a client say to me one time, like, if this thing happened, it used to ruin the day. Like I would be shut down for a day. And she sent me an email one time. She's like, it happened and it only lasted for an hour. She's like, I'm going to email you the next time it happens and let you know how long. And it like over time, it just got shorter and shorter and shorter because she got better at identifying what was going on in the moment. Like what used to be unconscious was now conscious, right? And her recovery time was that much quicker. And instead of losing a day, she maybe lost an hour or a half an hour. It's just incredible.
As you're saying that, it's like sometimes when we invest in coaching, it's intangible. But that example is so perfect. I mean, if I just make that intangible really tangible, your client just got the gift of 23 extra hours over and over and over again in her day of not being in a stress reaction. And time is our only non-renewable resource. I mean, she literally received the gift of time in her life where she wasn't in a stress reaction. And that was the first time.
Right. It was the first time, right? And it only got better. Stacy, is there anything I didn't ask you or anything you want to add before we go?
Nothing comes to mind. I just have to say, every single time I have an opportunity to share energy leadership, to talk about the ELI, even after a decade plus, both of us, of doing this work, every single time my own awareness continues to grow and expand. It's a never-ending, infinite journey into more of our power and potential. So thank you, Jody, for the opportunity to continue to expand my own awareness and energy levels, because every time I think about it and talk about it, more shifts.
Isn't that funny? It's so true. Like even in conversation, even me telling the story about my mother, like you feel yourself like getting into that shifted energy. And I am going to put in the comments the place on my site where people can find out more about the energy leadership assessment. Stacy, is there anywhere where you would like to send people or where they can find out more information about you and the work that you're doing?
No, really, my work in the world now really is around spreading this message of energy leadership for IPEC as a company. So if there's anything that you want to explore about becoming a core energy coach like Jody and myself, ipeccoaching.com is definitely the place that you want to check out. That gives you access to being able to facilitate this transformational tools with other people. And Jody's the go-to for if you're somebody in a leadership role that wants to incorporate energy leadership into your role, into your company, into your life. Core energy coach right there has you totally covered.
And Stacy, before you go, I was curious, and you may or may not be able to speak to this, but you talked earlier about how this can transform whole organizations. How are whole organizations working with this when they decide to bring this work into their organization?
Yeah, there really are there's a number of different ways. I mean, that's what's really great is when you connect with a core energy coach that does organizational work. So some organizations are using this as a regular check-in, kind of pulse check of the energy of the entire organization. So we have an organization that for the last number of years does an ELI 2 times a year for I don't know if it's their entire organization or if it's only their leadership team or what level they're doing it at. Certainly leadership is going to be the key place that this energy can really just ripple down and through an entire organization. And also, there's a lot of opportunity for that energy to ripple up through the organization. So depending on what a particular organization is looking for, sometimes it's just straight up, what is the energetics of our organization? Other times it's, I want the individual energy explored with a particular leader, with a variety of leaders. It really is unique and customizable to whatever the organization is going to find most impactful. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, Stacy, thank you again so much for being with us. And for those of you who are here now and joining later, please add any questions in the comments. We will be checking them frequently over time to make sure you have all the information that you need. So, Stacy, thanks again. Have a great day.
Yes. Thanks, Jody.
What were your takeaways from my conversation with Stacy? Could you see the difference shifting your perspective could make for you in your relationships or your leadership? Head over to LinkedIn to share your thoughts and takeaways on the post corresponding to this episode. I would love to hear what stood out most for you. And if you're intrigued by the Energy Leadership Assessment and would like to explore how it could benefit you in your life and leadership, schedule a time to chat with me. You can find a link to schedule a time on my calendar in the episode description. If you're listening through a mobile device, that link will be in your podcast app. And if you're listening through the Women Taking the Lead website, the link will be toward the bottom of the episode webpage. As always, I hope this was of value to you, and here's to your success.